Hey guys, Mo Trapper. So I wanted to talk about wire screen pan covers and MB550s. So I live more outdoors. Who I don't know if you are familiar with his channel or watch his channel, but if you don't, you should go hit him up and subscribe. He's got a really good channel. He does some good stuff, fun content. Seems like a real nice guy. Um, but he put out a video a couple months ago about wire screen pan covers and MB550s, and I had to kind of chuckle when I saw it because I did the same thing about a year ago, and very similar to what he's doing. So it's kind of funny that we were kind of thinking along the same lines, I think. But so when I did it, I made a bunch of them and took some out this fall. I was going to do a video on it, and I thought, nah, I'm going to take them out and really make sure that they work correctly and everything, you know, kind of iron out any of the bugs. And I did that. But at the end of the day, I kind of decided to not fool with it anymore, and we'll get to why here in a little bit. But anyway, let's start with pan cover. So what is a pan cover, right? Pan cover is just that. It's something that's going to cover the pan of the trap and keep any dirt or anything else from getting under the pan, right? So the pan can move down and fire the trap. A pan cover could be wax paper, it could be a coffee filter, it could be they make latex pan covers that, you know, anything you can think of. Whatever you put over the top of your pan to keep dirt from going under the pan, that's pan cover, right? And there are a bunch of different kinds of pan covers, and one of them is a metal screen or wire screen. And even within wire screen, you've got aluminum, like so. This is aluminum. And this here is a steel wire screen pan cover. So these two are very different as well. So you can see the aluminum, you know, it's just flimsy, and this is steel. And you're not gonna, you can pull on it all you want. You're not gonna move it. Very, very rigid. Okay. So wire screen pan covers are popular for a lot of reasons. I mean, they do a good job at keeping stuff out from underneath your pan, but I think another big reason that they're popular is because they can add to the kill area of a trap. And what I mean by that is, so if I have a pan, you know, if my pan's here and I put this heavy screen over it, if I get an animal that steps outside of my pan, but steps over here and pulls down, and this is stiff enough, it can actually pull my pan down as it's being pulled down, and essentially kind of expand the kill area of my pan inside my trap jaws. So I think that's why they're popular, and that's one of the reasons that, you know, this aluminum pan cover doesn't really do that for you, because it's so soft. You know, it doesn't really give you that ability to expand your pan, because when you pull down this, it gives too much. It's not stiff enough to actually push the pan down as it's being pulled down. It'll just kind of form around and bend. But these are effective at keeping stuff out from under your pan, right? So the main purpose of them, they do work very well. But if you're trying to expand your kill area, you really need to go to a heavier screen, something like this. And these I get from No BS Lures, and they fit perfectly on the K9 Extreme Junior traps. So this is what I use for my K9 Extreme Juniors. Just flat like this. It's a 5" by 5" square. You can buy them pre-cut. They're really, really high quality, really good screen, and really reasonable for, you know, for not having to do anything other than, you know, place an order and they show up and they're ready to go. But you can use these on Bridger #2 dogless. They fit really well on those. And that dogless design, that trap sits low enough, or the pan sits low enough, that you can just slide these up over and you don't get a bubble. And that's really, oh, and they work with the K9 Extreme Junior. See, that's what they're made for. And they work really, really, really well, because that pan sits below the jaws. You slide it in, it's completely flat. It works beautiful. It's a beautiful system. But when you get to a trap like the MB550 and the Duke 550 as well, the way that the pan sits with the pit pan system, right? Basically, you end up with a bubble, and I'll show a picture of this with this aluminum screen pan especially, you can see it very well. Um, but whenever you put the screen pan cover under the four corners of the jaws, and that with the jaws sitting so far below the pan on a trap like the MB550, that screen tends to make a bubble, and it really can be a pain in the butt when it makes that bubble, because you know, there's a bunch of dead space there. So if you were to bed a trap like that and then cover sift over the top of it, you can actually take your finger and push down where the pan is, and you'll feel a big void. You know, it's a real soft spot that I think an animal would be a little bit spooked by, because there's a pretty solid ground, and there's a spot where everything's really spongy and kind of weirdly soft. So, and then it makes it hard to sift the trap in, because you have to get so much additional material over the top of the trap to cover that bubble, that it just makes everything kind of weird, and it's kind of a pain. It's really not very fun. If you've ever tried to bed an MB550 with a wire screen pan that's just flat like this, you know what I mean, especially a heavy steel one that's really stiff, it's really not a very fun time. It can be a real pain. So what Live More Outdoors and what I kind of thought about and came up with was a way to basically press the pan into, or, you know, an outline of the pan, press it into a piece of wire screen to make a pan cover that fits exactly the pan on an MB550. And he's got a video on doing it, and this is what I did. I mean, it's real simple. You know, it's basically a negative die and a positive die. You know, you do need some relief in here, and just the saw curve, at least for me, wasn't enough. So once you cut this out, you're going to have to kind of go around and file on it or sand on it to get a little bit of extra space, more than the saw curve there, because you are going to push that material into that space, and if you don't leave enough space there, you can cut the screen. Basically, it'll just cut it and kind of ruin a bunch of them until you figure out how much space you actually need. So you do need some space there. And then another thing that I found to be important, or what I think is important, is to have another piece, so whenever you go down over here and really flatten it out, you're bending this way, and then you're also flattening back out this rest here, right, so that it's not bubbled up as well. So but basically this is what you end up with, right? And I've cut this portion here away to go over that the rear of the pan, this portion right here. And I'll show you a couple of pictures of this pan screen, or this wire screen pan cover on an MB550. They fit like a glove. They really, really look good. I'm not sure that these are going to expand your kill area though. And the reason is I went as shallow as I think I can as far as that pan impression into the screen to get it to sit flat. But when you do that, there's not a lot of room to go down any further. So when you have the trap set, basically, if something were to step, say here, they would hit the lever, you know, before they pulled the pan down at all. So, and it's kind of the same way in the front. I mean, there's a little bit more space there before they get to the frame of the trap. But, you know, at the end of the day, after looking at it and really kind of playing with it a little bit, I don't think, you know, once you get this impression deep enough to make it sit flat, you've kind of taken out all of your up and down movement, and there's not a lot of room. So even if something were to step here and really pull down, I think they would hit something solid like the frame of the trap or a lever before they pulled the pan down enough to set it off, if that makes sense. So they fit really, really well, and I think they would do an excellent job of keeping your keeping it, you know, any debris from going into your pan. But I don't think they do kind of the magic, you know, the reason for doing all this work is to increase that kill area, right? Because there's easier ways to keep stuff from getting under your pan than wire pan covers, at least on these guys. So that's why I kind of stopped messing with it and just kind of abandoned the idea. If you really, really want to make wire screen pan covers for your MB550s, this is a really good way to do it. I think this is going to be the best method for you to be able to use wire screen pans for the MB550. But for me, I don't feel like it gives you that extra kill area that it would on maybe a different trap. So it's just kind of not worth it, if that makes sense. The other thing that I found out was once you make these, they're kind of fragile, okay? So this is, formed up, but if you just put these, in the bottom of your trapping bag and you lay a hammer on them, or you lay a driver on them or something like that, and it smashes this back down, they're kind of toast. You can't really get them back into shape very easily, and it's kind of a mess. So if you're gonna do this, I would definitely recommend getting a Tupperware, something solid, a box that's hard plastic that you can set these in. That way, if you happen to lay something heavy on top of them, they don't all get smushed and then basically be kind of useless. Don't ask me how I know. So that was my experience. I did make some. I did take them out and use them. They did work well. I don't think they expanded my kill area. So for the time and effort that it took to make them, I felt like just shoving polyfill under the pan, which is what I do with my MB550s and my Duke 550s. I feel like that's way easier and way more efficient and just makes more sense, because if you're not going to expand the kill area with this wire screen pan cover, then it's kind of really not worth it, if that makes sense. I think you'd be better off just using wax paper or a coffee filter, or just something to keep stuff from under the pan, not really worrying about that extra kill area. And for me, the method that I'm using on the MB550s and the Duke 550s is polyfill. And I know some people have issues with polyfill. Some people say it will actually soak up water and then freeze. And I am completely surrounding my traps basically in wax sand. So I don't have that problem. There's no moisture is going to get to my traps once they're in the ground in the bed the way that I do them. So I've had zero problems with polyfill. It's actually worked really, really well for me. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm still using these on the K9 Extreme Juniors just because it's so easy. They're literally perfectly sized. You set the trap, slide this under the loose jaw and under the the back jaw, put it in the ground, bed it, and you're done. You walk away. Super, super easy, super simple. So this is my preferred method for K9 Extreme Juniors, as well as the Bridger number 2 dogless. This works really well for those as well. And you don't have to bend them at all. You just leave them flat like this, and you're not going to bend them up in your trapping bag or anything like that, so they work really well. When I go to my Dukes, Duke 550s or MB 550s, polyfill. So I always have both these and a bag of polyfill in my trapping bag at all times, and whichever trap I grab, I've got something that I can use to put that trap in the ground and keep it firing. So that's what I came up with. If you're doing this and you really like it, and there's something about it that really makes it worth it to you, put a comment down below and tell me what I'm missing, because like I said, I played with it, I made them, I took them out and used them, and I just felt like it was probably not worth the effort. I'd love to hear from Live More Outdoors too, to see if he really likes them and is going to keep doing it because he feels like it's worth it. Again, for me, I mean, they fit like a glove. They really, really look nice. I think they came out really nice, but at the end of the day, it's a lot of effort, and I don't think you're getting anything more out of it, if that makes sense. So anyway, that's my story about wire screen pans and MB550s. I hope everybody had a good season. I hope everybody's doing well.